Good morning, everybody. Please leave comments in the comments section. Hit like and subscribe. This is Tom and the Servant for another Raw Talk. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Steve. Here's the thing. The things are like I was saying about how when I had to kiss my grandma when I left, and I was like I say, I was just a little tot, I was small, and how wrinkly she was. I mean, we're all going to be there. I mean, that's because of sin. Our bodies weren't meant to be that way, but unfortunately,
We're
we're
all horrible.
dying.
I wanted to say, I wanted to ask you about something, right? But
Sure.
it's gonna take me a minute to set up the scenario. Okay, so
Okay, go ahead.
give me some give me some leeway here, man.
I will.
O-
I'll give you all the
o-
leeway you want, bro.
Okay, so we were in I was in chat 2 days ago, and Conspiracy Cats was in there, right? Now me and him now have a feud. I don't know why, but we have a feud. He thinks I'm what was the word he said? Vindictive, he says. That's his opinion of me, which I have no idea where he got that. But but we were in chat, and he has a degree in biology, right?
Okay.
And Paige was telling him, "Hey, you're wrong about viruses and everything," and she was trying to tell him what she learned from Dr. Kaufman and a couple other doctors, right?
Mhm.
And he said, "Well, I know about viruses and you can catch them, blah, blah, blah," right? And she's like, "Well, no, you're wrong, you know? And I'm trying to give you like links to these people you can go look for yourself to learn, you know?" And then he like ridicules Paige, right? Like, "Oh, I have a degree and you don't have a degree," like, bear
Right.
in mind, she grew up in the back bush of Australia. I'm sure there was a lot of joys to that, but she didn't have the ability to fly to America to go to college, right? To be a biologist or whatever,
And that's why
And
she's
so
smarter than him.
right. Well, he's ridiculing her about that, right? When she has a better education than him, and she's trying to help him, right? In a
Right.
non-ridiculing way, and he takes offense to that, right? And I'm like, oh, this guy is horrific, man. How could? And so when we're talking about the globe and stuff, right? He's like, well, do you look at both sides of the argument? I'm like, look, at this point, I know it's flat, right? Like, there's no reason for me to go to your channel because I know it's not real, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't go to you. You come to us. You're in our chat over here at Arwen's, right? Like trying to learn from us. You should be at least, and
Right.
but he won't look at both sides of the virus debate, and Paige was trying to help him out, and he's trying to make her feel, just ridiculing her, for not having an education. And I'm like, that's no class, man. So I don't know what you think
Well,
about
here's the
that.
thing.
These
Here's the thing.
ballers.
And it's not even just baller. Just let's get away from the ball and just concentrate on what he was saying about the virus, okay? We all believed that wholeheartedly growing up because, all through school you're getting shot after shot after shot, vaccinate this, vaccinate that. And then these people with these degrees, they're just more and more brainwashed and indoctrinated. You can have all the degrees you want, but you're just being taught someone else's opinion. And it's what they want you to know or to learn. I mean, if this guy thinks he's got a bachelor's degree, so he's smarter than everybody, then when Dr. Kaufman says just the opposite, he should have to bow down to Dr. Kaufman because he got PhDs,
Right,
right? You
right.
know what I'm
And not
saying?
only that, but he's taking a risk with his education, right? By coming out against uh the narrative and paying for his own research, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sure nobody's funding his research, to go against the narrative that there's viruses, Dr.
I mean,
Kaufman's putting himself out there.
yeah, and just look at it. I mean, where did he get his education from? Did he go do all these experiments and tests and prove what he believes, or was
Well,
he
he
was
said,
just told what to believe?
well,
He
so
was told.
he says he works with viruses, right? Because you can use viruses like as a tool to take from one cell and put into another cell,
But
and like,
but think of what he just said there.
but
You
they
have
can't
to
supply.
inject it into you.
Right, right. And he wasn't getting that, He wasn't
That's the
getting that.
key. If he
And
listened to just
Arwen,
two of Dr. Kaufman's videos about that, he and with an open mind now, let's face it, you can't go there to just debunk or hate the guy. If you go there open-minded to learn,
Right. Right.
then he would see
Well,
the truth.
yeah. And see, God predicted this, right?
Absolutely.
He said that there would be. I'm not sure where I hate when I always quote part of a verse because that's
That's okay.
dangerous. But he said that they would go on with their vain babblings, you know,
Vain,
their
yeah,
vain.
vain doctrine.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
and
Of
and
science
and
falsely so called.
science falsely so-called. Paul said that. I can't remember where he said that. I think it's to the Corinthians or to the Roman, but I just think it's amazing how God not only, well, I mean, of course, it's God predicts everything because He made everything, right? It's His story, right? But
Yeah,
what's great is that things that you wouldn't think would happen are happening now, exactly as it says in the Bible. You know?
well, let me quote this. It's First Timothy 6:20, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It says, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and
That's it,
oppositions of science falsely so called."
right?
That's exactly what that is.
And he's in opposition of science because what he learned is just opinion, and all the science points to the viruses aren't infectious.
And you
You
have
know,
to understand too, he was taught by an evolutionist, not a
of course,
creationist.
of course, yeah.
Those people think it took millions and millions of years for that to happen.
I mean, it's
So I mean,
unbelievable,
they're
Tom.
all their doctrine is, I mean, Luciferian at best. It's satanic. It's the
At
lie, right?
best, at best, because and it is religious because how could you believe that like a soupy mess, right? And lightning hit it. I don't know where the lightning came from or the rain in space,
Or
but
the soup.
lightning hit. Yeah, lightning hit a soup, and all of a sudden there's life. You know, like if I gave him a whole functioning sheep, right? He couldn't make a blade of grass out of that.
Nope.
You know
He,
what I mean?
yep.
And think about how much more complicated a sheep is, you know?
He couldn't. Dude, he couldn't even make an amoeba.
Right, he could not even make an amoeba out of that mess, you know? That's unbelievable. It's crazy how they think that that is science, right? And that that is proven fact, right?
Right. But the
When
one thing I always keep in my mind, we're rare. The people who actually understand it, I mean, truly have their eyes open and get it and know this, this truth. We didn't always know this. You know,
no, sure, sure,
years ago, someone could have told me something like that, and I'm talking even early in my Christian walk.
sure,
And I can look back and tell you flat out, it was pride or ego, thinking I was smarter, thinking I knew something.
right,
Even though I didn't, I thought I did. I mean, I was cool. I mean, I knew yeah, viruses don't exist. Yeah, you're an idiot. Yeah, no,
right.
if you believe that they do and you can catch it from someone sneezing on you, you are an idiot.
Because
You
you know,
know, I
because
was
you
a,
know
I
what?
was a, I was just uneducated, ignorant.
Well, and not only that, Tom, right? Like I used to be one of these guys that I used to like documentaries and stuff, you know?
Hmm.
And so I'd watch these documentaries on TV thinking I'm getting smarter, you know, like learning, you know, like what
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, no, I saw 10, 12 documentaries on that. I know exactly what that is, you know. You just don't understand. But here I am watching lies, not even realizing that I'm sitting there paying attention, learning lies, and you know, like, oh, I better remember that fact about that, you know, how amoebas breathe and how you know. I mean, come on, man.
I
And
mean,
you
and
know,
here's the thing: the people who put those shows out, they're evolutionists. They hate God.
they're
You know,
satanic, man.
yeah, the TV's run by the government, by evil. I mean, this thing is so big at the top, and it's the top that controls everything downward. Okay, so no, Dan Rather doesn't have to know that he's being lied to about amoebas. Okay, but
Right,
he's being told to tell you that amoebas took billions of years to evolve, so he just
right,
spreads that on.
right.
He
He
doesn't
reads
have
the
to be the
news.
top leader to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
And if he wouldn't say that, Dan Rather wouldn't be on TV.
That's right. They get another guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. They'll
and
cut his hair,
see,
groom him, and
a
make him
lot of
look like
these,
everybody other news anchor, or what doesn't matter what it is. If
right?
it's that Bill Nye the Science Guy or whatever, they'll always put out some idiot that'll push their narrative.
That's
And
right.
most of them, I think, actually believe it, Steve.
Sure. I mean, if you worked at a news agency, let's say you're just a a young reporter or whatever, right? And they say, okay, sit here at this desk and read the teleprompter, right? You're
Hmm.
going to think you're delivering an accurate news, the accurate news. You're not, you don't think that that's a narrative that's being read all over the country, you
Hey,
know?
you can take that one step further. You're one of those people sitting there during a presidential briefing that he gets to ask you get to ask him a question. Anything
Yeah,
I mean, you're so, how can I say it,
jazzed up.
prideful or joyful or yeah, like, oh, I'm someone special. I can ask the president a question and he answers it. You think you're gonna sit there and not report that and put it in your newspaper? That's
That's
your
right.
livelihood.
That's right.
And you're gonna get all fluttered and butterflies like, ooh, the president answered my question.
Well,
I mean,
how did we get so far from the
dude,
truth, Like at what point
6,000
do
years.
people I mean it had to be because at what point do people stop caring about I mean, I wonder how they even started this whole thing with the lies and all that. Like did they have to convince a bunch of humans or did they just wipe out all the adults and start over with a bunch of kids? I mean,
Dude,
how did
I
they do this to us?
convincing, force, killing. Look how many Christians got murdered throughout time.
Right?
So I mean, there's only so
Murder.
much pain and suffering and um, things like that that can happen to a person where it takes a couple people to fall away, and then they have kids and they teach them the falling away part and a little bit. And, it's a little at a time. This stuff doesn't come in one day. It's
It's
just like this
spread.
COVID thing. Okay,
Yeah.
they are already saying there's a second wave. Now, how the hell would you know that? And here's my
Right.
thing about these vaccinations, Steve. If they want to force it on everybody, here's my opinion. If you don't want to get it, you take the vaccine. You have nothing to worry about. If I get it and die, what's that to you? It's none of your business. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? You want to
Right.
depopulate the earth anyways. That's a good way. Everybody who wants to live get vaccinated. Everybody who wants to die don't. Because
Well, and see that makes sense, right? If you're vaccinated, why are you worried about if I'm vaccinated, right?
yeah, all right.
Because you're
You
covered.
can't
You're
catch it,
covered.
right?
But they want us to believe that a certain critical mass of us has to get it, or else it'll come back. Or you know what I mean? It'll what was the word that they used? Well, not morph, but like intensify or something
Evolve
like.
or
Yeah, I guess you could say evolve. I can't think
magnify.
of. Yeah, I can't think of what it is, but it'll like become resistant the vaccine and then hit a second wave harder if a critical mass doesn't get it. But that doesn't make any sense. Like if you follow their logic, if you're vaccinated for something, number one, why are we getting vaccinated anyway? Because humans have been here for 6,000 years. Well, as long as the world's been here,
Yep.
right? And so we're just like a dog or a cat or whatever. We're animals that have our own um,
Immune
you know,
system.
yeah, immune system. So like, why is it that we're even taking shots in the first place or giving them to babies, man?
Right. Yeah, and my biggest thing is, like, if you don't want to catch it and get sick, go get the vaccine. That's your choice. And then
Right,
you have nothing to worry about. You won't have to wear a mask. You won't have to go isolate. You'll be safe,
right,
right? And if
yeah,
I choose to not worry about catching it, then that's my choice not to vaccinate.
yeah. It should be our business.
And it's gonna be my business.
Right? No,
You know what I'm
no,
saying,
you're
bro?
right. Well, I mean, it's very clear in the Bible, right? Like now that I'm aware of things in the Bible that I was ignoring before, right? It says I'm not supposed to pierce or mark my skin in any way, you know?
Right,
And
right,
so I can't unless I'm sick, right? Then but you're not going to touch me with a shot, you know? And
right.
if I'm sick and I need it or whatever, and that's the best course of action or whatever, I have to trust somebody, right? But if I'm not sick, you're not touching me with a needle, you know?
And
That's
here's the thing. If
yeah,
if things were back like they were 2,000 years ago, we would just go to the elders of the church and we'd be healed. God would heal us. But we've
That's
gotten
right.
so far away from that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Our
was just
faith.
reading in Acts today when this is after Saul had just really been converted, and
Right.
this girl named Tabitha dies. He puts everybody out of the room, and I think she had been dead maybe for a day or two, but I could be wrong on that, the length. He raises her from the dead and presents her alive. Those things were common with these apostles and the disciples.
Oh
You
yeah, they
know,
could do it for
if I
sure.
mean that's how bad, how weak. Even though the most faithful of us aren't very faithful, you know what I'm saying? Or there'd be more miracles like that happening. Me and you
It
wouldn't need
pales.
any. I wouldn't need pills to help me sleep. You wouldn't need pills for your stomach or whatever it is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Doesn't
Yep.
matter what it is. We could go to a true Christian elder and be healed, or do it ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're too
You're
far
right.
removed.
We are. We are. I mean, it's like even you get like a person at their most faithful now, it pales in comparison to what it used to be, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if that person is like genuinely their heart's in the right place, they have as much faith as they can get. I think that we're all connected in some way that like if enough people have enough faith, then anything can happen. Anything, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
I really do believe you can move a mountain, you know? I believe that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's like I guess it's crazy, man, because there was a time before I was a Christian and even early as a Christian where I couldn't conceive of a creator outside, like uh, something unnatural being here. I couldn't imagine that even as a concept. Even to think of it as just an exercise. I couldn't even contemplate that. And now I can't see it the other way. You know? Which is
Right.
crazy, right? So I get it that there's people that just can't. They can't see that it's happening, so they don't believe it, right?
But why
But here's
don't
the
they?
thing: just because you don't believe it doesn't mean you got to be real negative and nasty about it.
And just because you
You know
don't
what I
believe
mean?
it doesn't mean it isn't real.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, that's right. The truth is not as subjective as the world wants you to think. Like when this country had like freedom of religion, right? That sounds nice, right? But that's really a death sentence for everybody, you know?
Right. Right.
And so yeah, that sounds nice that I get to pick what I want to do, but that's not the way the world is. You don't just get to pick your truth, you know? I can't just breathe marmalade if I want, I have to
Right.
breathe air, And so
Right.
there are some objective truths I mean, and so like I do run into a lot of people that like, that I listen to some pastors where half of us are flat earthers, half of us aren't,
Okay.
and they think that that's a big split, and I can see that it could be a split, right? But the thing is like, okay, well, we could ignore it, right, and not even go into it, and just focus on the salvation or whatever, or we can just, you know what, you just accept the truth. If you stop rejecting the truth, it doesn't have to be a division, right? If you're not sure, have somebody show you, right? At least be open to that, right?
And that's
Because
the
if you
key.
right, you have
Openness.
to
You gotta
accept.
be willing to
That's it.
you know. That's why I always say belief is the enemy of knowledge, because you can believe something with your whole heart and be dead wrong, And oh, I'm sorry
Yeah, I
about that,
mean,
but
anytime you
you gotta.
reject the truth, you just keep getting further and further away from what's right, And yeah, there are some things that are uncomfortable, right? Yeah, we learned that we live in space and all that. That's hard to let go, right? But
Hmm.
but hey, if I reject that truth, right? Well, then what's preventing me from rejecting another truth that I don't like, you know?
It's
And
like
so
this.
it's a
When the Bible
disease.
says every knee shall bow, whether
Yes,
you believe it or not, your
it
knees
will
will
happen.
bow. It will
Yeah.
happen,
Yep.
you know. And to me, this is how I looked at it early on, and it may be a bad way to look at it, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'd
You're
rather be,
darn right. You're
if
darn right.
I'm wrong, I'm out nothing. I've just done good things or tried to be good and help other people,
Yeah,
and if I'm right, look at what we got coming.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Uh,
going to be so beautiful.
But I'll tell you what, like the number one reason I believe in God is because it's true, you know? I mean, and I know you're at this level too, where like I pretty much know for a fact that it's true, you know? Like it's not even a possibility that I could be wrong, you know? Like that's how clear I could see this, right? And so it's just like saying the sky is blue to me, you know? And
Right.
so like yeah, I guess you can say, okay, so let's say you are just like a math guy, right? You're a science math guy and you don't believe in God, right? Well, just based on the numbers, right? And the probability, right? And the chances of, and then you weigh the consequences, right? Why would you ever roll the dice without being covered?
And this is just shows you how indoctrinated people are. Is with all that evidence, there can be no doubt that something had to create this, something much bigger than us. Everything
Absolutely.
has design. To have
Especially
design, you have to
super
have a
snow.
designer.
Yeah,
Okay? I mean, everything that we can create nothing that hasn't already been created, right?
that's right.
We have to use stuff that's already here to make anything. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
We can't magically make some
Making up
material form out
out
of
of
nothing.
nothing. That's right. That's right.
I mean, and just that alone should make anybody who wants to know the truth just open eyes and then dig deep. And like I tell people, if you're not sure about God, but you really want to know, you pray and read the book of John, the Gospel of John.
Yeah.
If you don't accept Christ after reading that with an open mind, you're not going to. Because that
Yeah.
book right there alone proves God and Jesus Christ. Period.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, that book.
Right. Right. I mean, well, this is okay, this is the thing that seals it for me, right? Flat Earth helped a whole lot. I won't lie about that. That helped a lot, right? But,
Yep.
but uh just the idea that science, right, is never scrutinized, right? Like we scrutinized it and it fell apart, right? And so, like, science never gets scrutinized, right? But the Bible is the most scrutinized book on the history of the planet. Like,
And
so
you
many
can't
people
find
have
nothing
tried to,
wrong with it,
and
right?
they can't find nothing wrong with it. Even when you find what you think are contradictions, it's because you're not dividing the Bible right, you know, into time periods and different people, you know.
And hey,
But
the only
like,
way they can find errors or anything wrong with it is they go take different versions,
yeah,
right? I
and they
mean, you
find
got to go find a
contradictions.
different version to read, and where some Luciferian or satanic person, you know, redid it
Yeah.
so you can fit your belief in there. But if you go back to the original Hebrew and Greek, you won't find any mistakes, not one.
No. No, and what's crazy is that somebody, I think it was his name is John Kostick. I don't really trust him that much, you know, but he does teach some good stuff. You know, you take the meat and throw out the bones, I guess. And he was explaining the first word in the Bible is Bereshit or whatever,
Yep, yep.
and each letter means like so. I forget what it is. I'm paraphrasing here, and I hate to do that, but my memory is so bad, you know. But it was like you know, like God created everything, and something will happen, and we'll send a savior. Like I mean, just in the first word, the whole Bible is in there.
If you want a really good teaching on that, that
Yeah.
Trey Smith has a video on that that is
Okay,
just
I'll watch that.
phenomenal. It's
Yeah.
Bereshit in the beginning. That's what that word
Yes.
means, and he
That's
breaks
right.
that down. It is beautifully done.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. I wish I could say it the way they said it,
I
but
know.
the whole
I
Bible's
know.
pretty much the whole Bible's pretty much written in that first word. You know,
Hmm.
of everything that's going to happen. And so how do you
Yeah.
deny something like that, you know? Like how do you deny something like that that's implanted in this book like these books that were written, you know, hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of years apart,
Thousands.
some of them, right? Yeah. And like they have no business even being together, but they're together and perfect.
And then how does the prophecy that are written hundreds and hundreds of years prior
Right.
get fulfilled to the exact day.
Right. And
I mean, over
they
and
named
over.
King Cyrus. Remember when they named King Cyrus many many years before he would be build the temple or whatever.
It's yeah, it's fascinating. It's just
It
like
is
the
fascinating.
feast days and how they're fulfilled. Jesus fulfilled them to a T, to the day. I mean, and they were doing them for thousands of years.
I can't wait for this rapture, my friend.
I hear you.
You know, and it felt like it was coming fast, and now it's kind of hitting a slow spot. You know, and now there's all this kind of fake truth that all the truthers get. You know how like when somebody gets a character and then everyone reports on them. You know, like that cop or whatever. You know, like you hear there's like five different stories about them. Like you get that kind of fake-ish truth, you know, and then you get like a big old like a whole bunch of new truth, you know, and you're like, oh, it's going so fast, it's too fast. And then you're like, oh, it's not fast enough, you know, because it hits that lull again, you know.
Yeah,
And it's like I just want these people to hurry up, you know. I want these people to hurry up, you know. You know, well, I want to get as many fish as possible first. I mean, that's I shouldn't sound selfish in that way, but I mean, if I'm being honest, I do want God to come back, you know, and
absolutely.
you know that's just how I feel inside, you know. Not that I don't want anybody else to be saved, because I do, you know, and I've been going around hand picking subs, you know, like just anybody that has a good comment anywhere, I ask them if they'll sub to my channel, sub to our channel, and I even write please, put a smiley face there and everything, you know. And
Well, and we're almost at 500 now. We're at 497 when I looked this morning.
you know, and I put out a bunch yesterday. I hope they don't think I'm a spammer with this stuff, but it's the only way for us to grow, you know? It's the only, because there's no way to grow anymore. You know what I mean?
No, and
Like,
that's good work by you. That's good
well,
work
I
by you
mean,
doing that. Seriously, Steve.
you know, I mean, we did go from 80 to 500 pretty fast, right?
Right.
And so I think part of it is that, you know, you and I have good conversations that are interesting, you know, and I think, you know, I very rarely give myself credit for anything, but like I think that we're good at this, you know, and I think people enjoy listening, you know, because it's just like it's normal people actually talking normal when most people like us are out there trying to convince people that are ridiculing us, and we're the ones that are trying to help them, you know.
Right.
And so when somebody can hear two people that are real people have conversations, it feels probably comforting, you know.
Absolutely.
And to
Because
me,
that's
they're
what
part
people
of this
want, right?
conversation. Yeah,
Most
sure.
people want just the truth, come from the heart, you know?
Yeah. Or at least someone being genuine, even if they're not right, someone being genuine, that they even believe what they're saying, you know? I mean, because it's so hard to even find that
It
anymore.
is. It
And
is.
see, like shows like Nathan's channel, right, are good because, like, yeah, he'll ridicule a baller, and yeah, that gives me a release, so I don't have to go yell at somebody today, you know. And so there's a purpose for that show. And then, you know, Arwen's, there's a little community there that we all kind of get together, and that's a nice little community, right? Every show has a purpose, and I think our show is like, you know, like finally you get to hear people that are just speaking matter of factly about things. Like we're not debating about flat Earth. It's the truth, and it's just like the sky is blue. It's a matter of fact, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's
No matter what
normal.
anybody else says, right?
It's not debatable. You know,
Right.
it's not a debatable thing to me. The debate ended 2017-ish, I would say, that once we figured out how they were doing the math and the R value and the perspective, how they were hijacking perspective, after that, I mean, it's a very bad position to be a baller right now. I
Right,
mean,
right. I mean, that's why everything is refraction or perspective for them. I mean, everything is, mountains are
correct?
refracting. That Joshua Nowicki footage filming the Chicago skyline from Lake Michigan,
Yeah,
he's like 60 miles away. That's refraction. I
they're
mean,
saying it's a
or
hologram,
mirage. I mean, how do you even come up with this stuff and believe it?
right? They're
A
saying if
whole
I they're
city.
saying no, they're saying if I shot an HE4 at Chicago from you know, if it would go that far, right?
Right. Let's just say it would.
If I shot at that building, right? that I wouldn't hit a building. I'd hit a hologram.
Right. Well, and
That's
that'd be a good
that's
test.
stupid.
They got missiles that can probably go 60 miles straight across, right? They ought to
30,
send they ought to
35.
send one over there and
Yeah.
see.
Send them this.
And I think you
I
line up
see
all the
what you're saying.
ballers and meteorologists on that right on the opposite side there, and they can watch it fly over their head.
Well, you know what, Arwen was screaming yesterday at Conspiracy Cats. He really like lost his mind, right?
I
Like
have to
he was yelling.
watch that.
Oh, you gotta watch it because he was like, I hope that you guys get all packed into a rocket and get splat all over the firmament. And I'm like, oh, Arwen, man, I was gonna ban Conspiracy Cats like maybe 10 minutes before that, right? Because I did an hour on his show and then I sat in the chat for about another 40 minutes. It was a Sunday show.
Yeah.
And so then he started yelling at Conspiracy Cats, you come here, you don't learn anything, you're a troll, blah, blah, blah. We try to teach you, you ignore us, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, oh, you're so polite. That's why everyone lets you come here, right? Well, that's something you should automatically be is polite. You shouldn't get no credit for that. He's like,
Right.
I hope you all get in a rocket and fly up in the sky and get splat all over the firmament.
Uh, you gotta love Armin's passion though when he
Oh
because when he
yeah,
believes in
it's
something, he believes
real.
in it wholeheartedly, and
Yeah,
that's mad props to him.
yeah. I give him credit for being at least an open book. I mean,
Absolutely.
because here's the thing, right? Yeah, he might, uh, you know, ask people for finances but he's honest about what he spends his money on. He's
Yep.
honest about, when he makes mistakes and oh, this money was for that, but I spent it.
Yep.
He's honest, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's goofy, right? But he's not lying or being deceitful about it.
Oh,
He's not telling
and
people
that's just who he is. I mean, the guy is genuine, and I
open book.
have no problem with anybody asking for money and stuff like that. I mean, if you're out
Yeah,
there doing a show, I mean, those people put in a lot of time, a lot of research that they couldn't do if they were working 9 to 5, right?
Arwen's on a lot of shows for free, man.
I know he does.
Yeah.
I know he's on a lot of channels.
So he's on like 5 different shows that he's on, and then he debates people on Discord, And when he shows up there, he brings a little crowd, So that really helps it everywhere he goes.
What's the thing? You can actually talk to this guy. I remember like when I first got
Yeah,
to I mean, I heard about him watching Nathan's a few times, and then I decided to go to his show one day.
I felt
And
bad for him. So I checked
well,
him out.
yeah. Well, anyway, so I
Yeah.
typed in there because I couldn't believe I was actually, chatting live with somebody. So I asked him, "Can I ask you a question?" He typed, "Yeah, you can." So then I asked it, and he answered it. And I'm like, "Well, this is kind of cool." He's in the Netherlands, we're in the United States, and we're having real time conversation, and he'll take
Yeah,
the time to talk to anybody if you're legit.
yeah, to
I
teach
mean,
you
that's
whatever
pretty
you
cool,
want.
man.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, man. For free, basically, unless you give him a buck or two or whatever.
Yeah, he was
And
the first one I ever gave a donation to, and I've
yeah,
been watching these videos for years.
I always put aside like $20, and I give like three to Nathan and a few to a couple other channels, right? And then I always put the most at Darwin's, $10 or $12 throughout the month or something like that
Right,
in $1 little $1 chats, you know. But it is what it is, right? And I think that if everyone did that, he could make a living doing this kind of thing. If
right,
everyone gave 10 or $12 and he has 1,000 people, that's 12 grand.
right,
That's all it takes for a whole year. I mean that's not a lot of money, but right, if you made 12 grand a year just, teaching people online, that would be cool, right?
right. Right.
Yeah.
And I
So,
think he does do a paper route and stuff, so he's got a little other source of income.
yep. And I want to give a shout out to Cindy out there, the lady I was chatting at. She's an awesome lady, and I hope we have more interaction out there. So I just wanted to give her a little special shout out. Most of these people are handpicked. I think she was handpicked too. Dear Heavenly Father, I turn to you today. I repent of all my sins. I believe that your Son, Jesus Christ, died on the cross for my sins and was resurrected to life on the third day. And forevermore he lives. Father, I ask of you to baptize me with the Holy Spirit right now. Change my heart and renew my spirit.
I invite you, Jesus, to enter into my heart, change me, save me, and be the Lord of my life. Right now, in your mighty name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.